All right, so we're back live again for our second town hall. So welcome to everyone here in our audience and to our YouTube viewers as well. Again, we're here with President Jimmy Favin, and I'm Andrew Lewis, and this is our second town hall, and we're really excited to be here again. We're going to just answer questions, have conversation, and kind of just see where it goes, and hopefully all of you have some questions. If not, we've got some that we can kind of talk through and have ourselves a good old time here. Sound good?
Sounds wonderful.
Perfect. So we're week three,
Week three, right?
into the semester. Um, since last time we had, last week on that day, we had our makeup COVID testing. So we went through that and we had 38 individuals get retested, which was great. We thought we wanted to just double check and make sure. And we had about 22 individuals tested for the first time. As of now, all test results are negative, haven't had any positive, so we're doing good. We're again following all of our procedures. Everyone here has masks on, they all look great. And everything social distance wise throughout the buildings and classrooms are working well. So that's very positive that our plan is working. And we continue to go through that process. I know that Howard has been really great as well, communicating with us and everything that we need and everything that we question and make sure that we're keeping up to date on everything, which is good. We've had a couple individuals throughout campus kind of maybe have some symptoms or things like that, and we've worked with them to make sure that they're comfortable if they have to self-isolate or put them, not really quarantine because they're not contagious or, we don't know at that point, but everyone has been well working through that. So it's surprising that we're at week 3 of the semester. It feels like we just started.
It feels almost normal. It does. I am impressed and amazed and grateful for how quickly we have all assimilated to this new lifestyle. By the way, our masks are here. They asked us to take them off last week because they are muffled. But I'm amazed at how quickly we've assimilated, no matter where you're at. And I'm so proud and I'm so impressed with the students themselves. I mean, they are such good stewards of their environment and of their own community because, we talked last week about the app, but, you can see them outside because in the state of West Virginia, obviously you don't have to have a mask on outside. It's just once you're inside of a building, the minute they go up the steps, up goes the mask. And it's interesting because as I've had more and more conversations, they've taken, that their ownership of their own space and their community to heart, and their issues that are brought up. They're concerned about themselves. They're concerned about, their colleagues in class. And I think that's amazing. I think we're on to something here. As a mother of, 2 adult kids, I've worried about the way that society has changed over the last, 10 to 15 years. And it's interesting to see the difference in our students right now and the responsibility that they are taking in the care and keeping of one another and wearing the mask and sanitizing. I like knowing that they actually prefer a specific stand sanitizer to another. They like the one that sprays better than the one that dispenses the gel. We've become connoisseurs here of types of sanitizer.
Yeah, and you bring up the Live Safe app again. I don't think I could be the next spokesperson for that app. We have over 600 people have signed up for that, so it keeps growing, which is great. We had an individual take a picture of themselves and send it and say, feeling great. So we'll take those selfies. We'll take positive, positive affirmations or positive outlook that we have on some of our students, which is great. Just, for them just to check in with us, saying that they're feeling good, they're feeling great, I think goes a long way. And I think, like you said, students are being responsible and holding each other accountable. We still, through the app and through communications, have students letting us know if there are situations or problems. Again, they take a picture of the empty hand sanitizer, take a picture of if there's an empty wipes container, all that kind of stuff I think is great. And again, I think we talked a lot at the beginning before when we started the reopening plan about it was going to put a lot on our students. You know, honestly, almost growing up a little bit extra, they have to hold themselves accountable and hold their classmates accountable. And I think that's hard when you're a young person. You know, you want to be friends and you want to fit in a sense, but we have a new responsibility for the campus community as a whole. You know, it's not just, you know, them and their roommate, it's, you know, 600, 700, 800 people that we have come through this campus on a daily basis. And I think that, you know, you've really said it, that our students have stepped up. So kudos to all of you here in the audience and out there that really have stepped up and kind of shown us what we needed, you know.
I think that's the one thing that I continue to say. I talk about silver linings, that look for them, because, you know, God always does provide. And I think that it's been remarkable when you think about it from a very large perspective, that it's really taken us back as a university to our mission, you know, for and among others. And that's really what we're doing. And it's the care and keeping of one another and going out of your way for someone else. You're seeing selflessness on a daily basis. And I find it to be very wholesome. And I think that this university is kind of found itself again. You know, we knew it was something special, you know, when we dove in last year, but I think the kids have really, you know, begun to show that to me. And the fact that last night I was in the bookstore, I was actually putting some shirts back out, and one of the students was talking to me. She went to show me a photo of her dog. And on one of her screenshots was her, you know, you get the little green check when you do your Live Safe app. And I was like, oh, I did that too, because it makes me feel good about myself, that, you know, today you're okay. But I think that, you know, we're finding ourselves in a very simple time, and I like that. I like the fact that that it's forcing us to look within ourselves.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you talked about is we always have to be adaptable to change. And I think today, you know, you sent an email about a change that needed to be made to kind of better assist our community. So do you want to talk on that a little bit?
Well, we went through a lot of stages, you know, back in the spring, you know, when we sent the students home, you know, then we did layoffs, and then we went to remote, and, you know, then we really started to see a surge, and we still have to protect every single one, every single person on this campus. It's our responsibility, you know, protect them. So we had issues where, you know, we're a very open campus. You know, I said during the midst of this that we were the most popular place in the community because everyone was walking on the campus, but we had people walking through the buildings, and so we talked about, you know, not knowing who was in and out, so we made some adjustments, and we locked the doors, and then we locked actually the suites within so that we were able to manage who was coming in and out. And part of that was our own contact tracing. So when you go into an office, you had to knock or have an appointment, and then when you get in there, you have to write it down. So if something happened, we were able to figure out who came into contact with who, which was a good thing, because we did have several cases before the students returned where we had folks who were in contact with someone who had contact with someone who was positive. And so we were able to know if that person came back testing positive, who we needed to contact. And so that was working. But as the students came back, it became unrealistic to expect them to make an appointment to see someone in an office because, you know, their time is frenzied, you know, getting them out of bed, you know, to class, fed, to practice, you know, to the library, whatever it was. So today we sent out an announcement that said, you know, we need to make an adjustment, and let's unlock the doors. Let's still require that you knock before you walk in so that we have an opportunity to put our mask on. And I think that was well received. And we're just constantly adjusting.
Yeah, the only negative is that, like I said the other day when we talked, was I was getting my steps in really early on, because I would get up when when someone was knocking and answer. And I mean,
You do look thinner.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Maybe, hopefully the camera doesn't add 10 pounds. But my rings were closed, and I was like, I don't need to go to the gym today. I can just keep going. But now I just have to be lazy again and sit there.
So one of our guests in the audience this evening is Father Hadi. And Father Hadi spent the entire last 5 months walking. And it's also changed his life. We were chatting last night. He has walked every single night, haven't you, Father? Since COVID took place. So you and he are probably, you know, the fittest folks on campus.
Yeah, walk a little bit more.
Yes.
Very good, very good.
But I think it's one of those things, there's an old adage of plan your work your plan. And I think that's one of the things that we did is, we plan for it and we're working our plan, but we're adjusting as we go along, and we're still fine tuning a couple things. And I think we're finding some issues that need to be addressed. Some people are making some decisions that are in essence, self-centered. Over the weekend, we had a report of some folks that were in McDonough. And playing a pickup game of basketball, which is by all means acceptable. And when you're actually within the sport itself, you don't have to have a mask on. But apparently someone took the mask off and went over to the water fountain, and we have X's on them. We didn't want to turn off the fountains completely because it was still safe to fill up the water bottles, but they pulled the X off and they drank out of it. And again, it's a selfish decision that affects everyone, and so we had to go back and turn off the water fountains because I won't let one person make a decision that affects a lot of people. But I think that as we continue to have these conversations, we'll learn those types of things.
Yeah, and we even talked about a little bit on last week's town hall about why we turned off the water fountains.
Right.
So it was almost kind of like discouraging to us that we had to go back and do something about that. But another thing, we did talk a little bit about service at our last town hall, and Father Rich is here from the Appalachian Institute, and he reached out on Friday about some folks in our community needing help, and he reached out to the wrestling team, and they were ready to go. They took charge and they went over to Elm Grove, correct? Elm Grove, and helped a family that was recently affected by the large amount of rain we had. They had some flooding. So again, gloves, masks, all social distancing, all that kind of stuff was followed. So we are thankful to Father Rich, the Appalachian Institute, and to the wrestling program, which is brought back.
Right.
So, and they've got a great, great start, and it's great that they're putting service in there. Again, our mission, they're getting dirty in a sense to get down there and help the community.
There's only one downside that I heard is that they left before the pizza arrived. I did hear that. If they didn't know it was coming, it was a surprise, and they missed the pizza.
So then, Father Rich, did you eat all the pizza?
Oh. And that's wonderful, yeah, the selflessness of our students to go out and help, and then the neighbor, doing something kind. So they say that karma comes around, but I think that positive good does come around as well. So I love knowing that our students who are happy to be back here are doing something productive and sharing, their gift of gratefulness, with the community.
Yeah, and we always continue to look at service opportunities and make sure that our students are safe while they do that. So, we kind of maybe say no to some, say yes to some, just so that we make sure that we're keeping, it's our responsibility to keep our students safe.
But it's always been a part of what the university
Correct,
does. And
correct.
we had to make some adjustments to that this year. Do you want to talk about that? I know you were disappointed.
Yeah, so normally we have Make a Difference Day for our first-year students during the weekend of move-in, again with campus ministry, Father Hottie, Father Rich, and the Appalachian Institute. We went into the community and they would do a lot of service throughout the day and spend some time with our campus ministry folks learning about the importance of that. But unfortunately, we had to adapt and change. We kind of wanted to keep everyone here on campus until we could get our test results back. I think that was the real thought process behind that. So we'll continue to, within first year experience, we've talked about adding service to some of their curriculum. So we'll move towards that and hopefully get some service going through there.
So I told you this earlier today. One of the things that I thought was interesting is last night I was walking from Swent back over to this particular building, and as I was going through, you could look down into Kirby and you saw the RA sitting down there. And we'll talk about why we did that. But as I shared with you, I love that. I love that presence of life, of involvement, of, it's a sense of security, for all of last year. I drive down to, the end of campus and back before I'd leave at night, and there was no one there. So that was, I think that's a wonderful perk that we now, and I'm hoping that we're able to keep that afterwards. So.
Yeah, the RAs, they spend some time down at the front desks to make sure that the residents that are coming into the building live there. And it's great that it's working. If we find an individual that is not a resident, we ask them to leave. And they comply, because that's, kind of our policy right now, is that we don't want outside guests, in a sense, within the building, so that we can kind of control as much as we can. And again, kudos to the Res Life staff and their ability to kind of adjust and adapt. I know that we've kind of essentially put a lot on them. They are really our front line within the residence halls. So they have a lot of weight on their shoulders, and we've asked them to, kind of assist heightened, in a sense, to monitor who's coming in and out, monitor if your residents go on trips, long distances. Yes, the staff is taking temperatures and things along those lines. So it's important that they continue to do that. And again, making sure that residents keep their rooms clean. We, talked about that a little bit as well. So that's good.
I think that a lot of us are finding that we all have new purposes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of employees are wearing multiple hats and becoming jack of all trades, if you will. I referred to Kelly Klubert as our executive producer last week, our own Gelman. She's also, this week, she's been the keeper of the library. She's worked in the mail room, and we've all been taking shifts in the mail room because, I try to acknowledge when the students, when you reach out or, you share a concern. And two concerns that we quickly addressed. One was the mailroom was not open, from 8 to 4. It was open when it was able to be open. And, I always say a thing, but until it's put into perspective, that sometimes you don't realize it. So we know that you're getting a lot of your books mailed back to you at the beginning of the school year. But until you said, hey, could you open the mailroom because I'm looking for my books. And so, obviously we talked about having layoffs in order to, to maintain the university. We had to make some adjustments. And so, the business office, my office, even Donna and conference services, we've all been, taking shifts in the mailroom to make sure it's open 8 hours a day so the students are able to get what they need. And that's also been earlier last week. It was, when's the library going to be open? It wasn't supposed to open until today, as we had a new employee coming on. But the students needed it, and so it was open. And I think Kelly said that one day she showed up and there was a line waiting to get in. So I think that's important because I think we're responsive. And, I pride myself in the fact that we're small enough that we can pay attention to the things that may not seem important but are very important to our students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, we've adapted and changed. And I think last week we talked about lounges in residence halls opening back up, or 24-hour lounge opening back up. And then, of course, the library, that. And I will be honest, and I've told you this, unfortunately, I wasn't a library person. I never went to library often as an undergrad, and my own, just don't go to library. So I went over last week to walk through our library, because again, it's not always on my radar, unfortunately. So I walked through there, and if you have not gone to our library, it's huge.
It is.
There's a lot of space. There's a lot of areas to study. There's a lot of rooms off of the main area for students to get in small groups, study with one another quietly, close the door. Studying in your room can be distracting. TV's there, computers there, and all that kind of stuff. And you really want to find somewhere that you can kind of focus, because some students need that, and they need that silence, and they need maybe more disciplined study practice. And the library is a great place to do that. So it's really important. And I know that was really important for you to make sure we got that open and staff in there. So it's great that we can kind of put that back out there to everyone to take advantage of that opportunity in that space, because it's some nice couches in there too.
So Monday there was a big day. I know that there's been an ask of our students to stay on campus as much as possible, and so to keep them on campus, we've got to provide them, things to do. So I think there's been some really neat things that took place, including a river raft.
Yeah, so our raft race was on Monday. Again, the Campus Activities Board, student government, they are always trying to think outside the box. And I know that the raft race has been done before, usually during last blast, if I'm correct, during last blast, probably for maybe a few years. Kelly, did you do it? No. Oh, well, maybe we'll get you on there this year.
It's been being done probably more than 2 or 3 decades. There were black and white photos, very old photos where they were doing it. Maybe you just weren't available that day.
I'll bring out the yearbooks. I've got some yearbooks in my office. I'll thumb through them and see what I can find. But the raft race was something that think outside the box, find something that you can think floats. We had a couple with some air mattresses, and anything else they could kind of find. And again, it was getting them out of the rooms, getting them in, here outside of campus a little bit to kind of enjoy themselves. And it was a nice day. And I think we had kind of gone back and forth on Labor Day, have classes, open, close. I really think it was important that we remained open. We wanted to keep students connected and here. In my years within higher education, you look at that first 2 weeks is where you really need to get our first year students connected to campus. And Labor Day is right at the 2-week mark. And, they go home for that long weekend and see a friend they haven't seen in a while. And they're like, man, I don't know if I want to go back. And then maybe we'll lose them. So, I think part of that was our reasoning for having classes on Monday and remaining here. And, we had a purpose behind it. We didn't just think, let's just add another class day, add another, work or whatever to that. But it was to make sure that we kept our students, again, safe, to remain close to campus here, and to keep them connected, that we're wanting them to be here, not kind of other distractions outside of campus. So, and then I think they spent a lot of time outside, and it was a great day. It's been, warm. We're into September.
I can't remember the RA that was telling me about a game that they played the other night. Is it Manhunt?
Oh, yeah.
It was Manhunt.
That's what it was. Tell me about that. Because it sounds like fun.
Cops and robbers, where the robbers, they go hide and then the cops try to go find them. It was fun. A lot of people in the sports teams were volunteering to play and stuff.
So I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, so thinking outside the box, other things, cops and robbers game, to getting some physical activity. So kudos. So a couple questions. So we talked about the library. We got that staffed and some hours going on. A question was there used to be an honors program. Are we bringing that back? Is there talks about that?
Yes, Dr. Paula Makris is in charge of that, and she'll be reintroducing that very shortly, and I think it's going to be a wonderful program. She's put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into it in development over the summer.
Perfect. And for you that don't, I think Donna at the front gave you a notepad. If you have questions, write them down, and then raise your hand, and Kelly or Donna will come around and we'll get them answered if you think of any. And I think when we kind of talked about having this town hall and doing it, we just wanted it to be an open discussion, questions, whatever you can think of, audience-wise, again, via the YouTube chat. People can ask questions and things like that. And if people, maybe later on you think of a question and you want to bring it up, COVID questions at wju.edu. We'll take questions there and bring them forward so we can kind of answer all the questions, that's kind of out there.
So over the weekend, we did have Central here. They had their football game, and there was some concern. And how do we do that safely and allow them on our campus? And not surprising, I think it went off without a hitch. Our students were asked to remain. You set up that with Carrie Hanna, our acting athletic director, to kind of remain back and stay out of the way. And unfortunately, Central took a loss. But I was really proud of the two organizations in figuring out how we work together, because as much as we are about protecting our university here, we're still about our community. And at the end of the day, that's still someone's senior year, and I really worried about derailing that particular school's senior year in football. So I was proud of that, and I had to laugh because we had the new Adirondack chairs show up on Friday, and we sat them out on the lawn right off of the walkway in front of Donahue. But by the time I came back on Saturday, they were all the way over the hillside because the kids had sit out there so they could watch the game from a socially safe distance. But I thought that was funny. So
yeah, and I think that was your reasoning again for making sure that we had our outdoor furniture. I'm happy to tell you that we've purchased hammocks.
Oh, wonderful.
They will be coming in. I think we got 10 maybe. So we talked last week that we had seen someone with a hammock that you can tie it up to two trees. So through campus activities, we kind of purchased them. They'll be in our office. Students can loan them out. We'll get them back, disinfect, sanitize, and then they can be taken and used throughout our campus here, which is great. We want to give opportunity. Give opportunities to our students to kind of get out there. Maybe I'll take a lunch kind of hang out, see if I wake up or not. Maybe I'll take a little nap out there. We'll see. No guarantees.
So it was Saturday night, men's and women's soccer both had scrimmages. So I was at the game, scrimmage, watching, and I walked back out into the parking lot. And for 2 weeks, I'm actually in care of their dog, Lucy, who is a golden doodle who's being trained to be a service dog. And she and I took a walk because it was just, she was really struggling with not getting to go on the field to get that ball. But there were some parents. And two things they said that I found very poignant. One was how beautiful our campus was. And I don't know if I can hear that enough or say that enough because I'm so proud of it. It's just astounding. But secondly, again, they were just amazed at how polite the kids were. They were sitting outside of Campion with their son, and the kids were coming in and out, and everyone was talking to one another. They're like, oh, who's that? Oh, I don't know his name yet. Well, everyone's just like that here, Dad. Everyone just talks to one another, and you love hearing that kind of stuff because the one thing as a parent that you want is you want your kids in a good environment, and you also want them to know that they're happy and they're fitting in, and I think that's wonderful.
Very good. So a question that came in through the LiveSafe app was, there may be some individuals who aren't wearing a mask for maybe a health reason. And the question was like, how do we approach that, or do we, ask the questions? And I think you and I talked a little bit. And I think it's everyone's right to kind of ask if you put your mask on, and if they refuse, then we can maybe not ask them directly as to why you're not wearing a mask. Bring it to our office in student services, and we can address things through that way. But I think that we want to give that power in a sense to our students and others that ask them. We want everyone to kind of put your mask on, make sure it's up over your nose, your face covering, mask is there. And I think that's important that, again, we put the ownership there. And I think we're all doing it as well. If I see students, you see students, faculty, staff, whoever, if we ask them to put their mask on, hopefully they, politely say, yeah, not a problem, or no, I'm sorry, I have an underlying health condition, or whatever is the reasoning. But again, we have our signs on campus at all the entrances to buildings about our face coverings. We've communicated that out to campus as a whole, faculty, staff, and students about the importance of face covering. So, I think it's good that they are wearing them. But again, I think it's everyone has that right because it's protecting both people. And
I know when we talked about earlier, I think that, regardless, you still want to empower everyone to be able to say, you need to put your mask on and say it politely. But if someone has an issue, I think that it would still be appropriate, especially if it's an adult, if it's someone in administration, staff, or employee, just to pull it up. It's an example rather than have to go into sharing of that person's personal information. And then just walk away. But it's a difficult place, but I think that was an interesting email. It came in, via the LiveSafe app. What about this? And those are poignant questions. And there's no easy answer to things like that.
Right.
So you just try to do the right thing and suggest it and or report it, and then you can take that and deal with it and figure it out and go from there.
Yeah, and I think it brings up that again, through the LiveSafe app, you can send information in anonymously, so that if students, faculty, staff aren't comfortable, saying that, Andrew Lewis isn't wearing his mask, that they can do that. They can say it to us, and we address it. When it comes to faculty, staff, we address it. If it's not followed, then we follow our human resources protocol. It's important that we hold those who are leading and those who are in those capacities accountable.
Right.
Our students look up to them as administrators, as faculty, as whatever, and it's important that we hold them accountable.
Right, because as we talk all the time at President's Cabinet, the culture starts at the top, and we set an example, and we really are not being tolerant when it comes to that. I mean, we are forcing everyone to toe the line, if you will. We had someone in administration, if you will, that wasn't, and that was dealt with, and I thought that was the appropriate thing to do, because we all have to be held accountable, and it doesn't matter who you are. because it's about the safety of everyone. You know, and we're all going to have that moment when you get halfway into a building and you're like, oh, I forgot my mask. I have to go back out and get it, or you can't find it. You know, but you know, just do the right thing. You know, turn around, leave the building, go and get it. And it's difficult. You know, I've got probably 9 of them right now, and every once in a while I'm like, I have no mask. Where's my mask?
I've seen
You
a lot
know?
of like teachers, and I even
Yeah.
thought about this, is they get a lanyard
Ah,
and
I
they
need that.
clip it on there, so it's almost like your, you know, your glasses and things like that.
I've been wearing mine as a bracelet.
Yeah, no longer are you like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, where's my keys? It's
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, where's my mask? Because before you run in, you know, to the store or wherever. And I think for me early on, it was like, oh, I don't know if I want to have a mask. You know what I mean? I think there was obviously a lot of people who probably still don't want to believe or whatever, but now it's the norm to have a mask. You know, almost everywhere you go, the grocery store, the gas station, you know, anywhere, and you see, you know, again, like it's nice that we have our cardinal mask. It's also a good conversation starter. Oh, I was in Subway, and someone asked if I was a coach, and I said no, I work at, you know, Wheeling. I'm in administration, but it's a good recruiting tool for us. So everyone wear your cardinal mask, get the word out wherever you go to have, you know, that. And I think that some of the students have talked about we gave them white masks, so they could personalize those. Tie-dye seemed to be the big thing over the summer, so there's some asks of maybe doing a tie-dyeing event with, you know, white masks, which I think is a great thing. Again, kind of putting personal spins on what we can do now that this is the new norm.
And I heard the little gifts went out today.
Yeah, so everyone
very exciting.
in their mailboxes, if you haven't checked your mailboxes, we're getting them filing up tomorrow. Everyone gets a hand sanitizer with our logo on it to kind of keep on you at all times. So that way, you know, you just squeeze it, put it on. You know, it seems that and it's funny because at the beginning it was like hand sanitizer empty, you made your own, but now it's starting to come back, and it's no one's hoarding it as much, but you know, we have that. We haven't got them for our students, so you know, check your mailbox, and we've got some extra that we can kind of use at various places. And you know, we continue to have our sanitizing stations throughout campus, and again, reporting those and making sure that, you know, we stay up on top of that and make sure that they are filled, and there isn't, you know, any.
For the record, I was not making it. My husband was making the hand sanitizer. You know, when I was growing up, and I think Father Hottie and Father McCouch will remember this, during the 70s, you know, when we were worried about nuclear war, and, you know, we had the bomb shelters, and, you know, we stockpiled food. My husband has taken upon himself to stockpile sanitizer, wipes, and toilet paper. So I'm not worried about any of those in my house. But he started making hand sanitizer because back in March, you know, we were faced with the fact that it just disappeared. And my youngest is a type 1 diabetic. And, you know, everyone handles their diabetes differently. But my son was diagnosed when he was 16, and he was actually sent to UPMC Children's. And it's a research facility, so he was trained. I mean, when I say trained, like, we had to go to classes with him, how to handle it. And he has to clean his hands with sanitizer before he pricks to check his blood sugar. And we were worried that, you know, a medical condition wouldn't be able to be, you know, administered or taken care of properly without it. So we started buying bottles of aloe and bottles of alcohol and started making it. And it's like, what is that? What is the crystal that Superman's allergic, that can't handle?
Kryptonite.
That's what color it is. It's like kryptonite color, but it's actually my favorite because you know that it's pure alcohol, and it's, you know, pure aloe, and when I put it on my hands, I feel like my germs are gone. So
start a side business.
Well, yeah. So, but you know what? To be honest, it's just one of those things that, you know, you don't want to get into a situation where you don't have those things. You know, he's an optometrist. And like every business, they've had to learn how to operate differently. And so it's wiping down. And so the wipes, you know, some of those are for that. And that's something that our faculty's doing. You know, you and I and one of our administrators was with Dr. Vargo. And she's in a classroom that has computer labs. And as her students come in, she gives each of them a wipe. Do any of you have Dr. Vargo? And so they are tasked with cleaning off the keyboards themselves. But I think that's a wonderful way of everyone, participating and not being anyone's responsibility, but everyone's responsibility.
Yeah. I had to put my pencil down because last time my mother watched and I got yelled at for fidgeting with my
You
pencil.
were clicking.
I was clicking.
Yes, you were. So thank you, Mrs. Lewis.
So another question came in. Our use of...
Just for the record, I would like to share with Kitty Lewis that we were all a little hurt that we didn't get the amazing Wheeling University Christmas gifts that you got and then shared and celebrated on Facebook. So.
Yeah. So my mom is always trying to come up with new things to get all of it. There's 3 of us kids, in something special that is meaningful in a sense. So this year was my first year as a Cardinal. I went to another school here locally, I won't say. So she got me a bunch of Cardinal stuff, which was great. And even I had a little Cardinal ornament, but my dog chewed that up, which is unfortunate. But again, I had polos and sweatshirts and everything.
I saw it all.
I sent it to you.
I know. So I think I share that because we're all proud to be here. And our parents, our families are proud of us to be here. And I think it's, interesting to share, and I'd also share that Andrew happens to be a twin. Which I think is fascinating. And I knew his sister before I actually knew you.
Yeah, there's always they say the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's a matter of how we all connected to one another. And your mother-in-law goes to my sister's salon.
Yes.
So it's always, and you knew my father.
Yes, I knew your father.
My mom and dad both go to your husband.
Yes.
For their eyes.
And it's the beauty of small community. We all know one another. And I laugh because this afternoon I got a call from a contractor from Weirton, and he's doing a project here, in Woodsdale, and he's going to have a bunch of dirt, and he wanted to know if the university could use it for anything. And a lot of times you need those types of things, fill dirt. But again, it's little things that mean so much because it's about community and supporting one another.
Yeah, which is good.
And who we are.
Yeah. So another question came in about the use of vans and buses, maybe to the Highlands or to things like that. Do you think we're going to start utilizing those again?
I think as long as we maintain our protocols, I think that was what we talked about, is that, we would hold steady and then we would, kind of expand and hold steady and then kind of expand. So at some point, we've got to go out and allow our students to enjoy Wheeling. So I think as long as, we're adhering to protocols, getting in, making sure that we're cleaning their hands, to and from, wearing our mask, I think it's a wonderful thing and something we need to move forward to. I know that this week was a big week because we opened the lounges, 24-hour lounge.
Yeah, so I think we phase everything, and a lot of states are doing, phasing certain things, capacities in restaurants, and I think that's where we're at too, is that we're slowly figuring out how we can do things safe. So I think for any first-year students, through campus activities, residence life, student services, we like to offer trips up to the Highlands, which is a local shopping area not far from here that has Walmart, lots of restaurants, Target, Kohl's, TJ Maxx, a little bit of everything. And again, we'll start those back up, socially distanced. Maybe, normally a van can hold 10, I believe, in the driver. So we'll have to limit that. We do have a bus, and we can, again, maybe work through that. But again, I think it's making sure that we're safe and we're being accommodating to that.
No, and I think that, there's the other side of the university. And when we talk about the importance of this university to the community, a lot of small areas, they benefit from having a college. And so Wheeling certainly benefits by having our students here, and they're excited for them to be able to come and, patronize. And I know that our students, are going to those things because they get photos of them. They're all excited. Oh, we had some of your kids here tonight. I have a friend out in Belmont who owns an axe throwing facility, and some of our students were out there. I know.
That could be a senior team event.
I know. Well, they also travel. So, we're talking about getting here on campus. The students actually talk to me about, that. But they're excited. They're excited about the kids, and the kids are, and I think that's something I want to, as we said, let's do it in phases so it's safe. But I think that's the part of being in college, is having that experience and going to those places and getting to do those things.
So a question, do all students have mailboxes? So as of right now, there's a lot of extra.
Then and more. Yes, we discovered today that we have 300 students who are no longer students who still have mailboxes here.
Yeah, so we went through that process. Currently, all of our residential students get a mailbox. We want to not necessarily just not focus on them, but they live here on campus, so they don't have any other option as to where mail can go. We will work with students, I think, if that's necessary, but all residential students automatically get a mailbox. Off-campus students, local PO boxes, things like that can be obtained. We are limited on what we can do here on campus, staffing wise and things like that. So.
But there is another adjustment that we made this week. So when we're talking about taking shifts in the mailroom, I've always said that every problem is an opportunity waiting to happen. And so what we discovered in trying to solve this problem with the mailrooms, there was some inefficiencies. And so one of the things that we did just yesterday is we said, we're no longer going to deliver the mail. We're going to expect that all the departments come and get their mail, kind of, everyone share in that responsibility. It helps us, control, the cost of operating it, puts our focus back on the students. We want to keep it open so the kids are able to get their mail. And sometimes when we would shut the mailroom down to go deliver. So we've asked all departments to bring their mail to the mailroom to be mailed and then actually come and pick it up. So again,
I get my steps in that way.
Steps in,
Perfect.
yes.
And again, I think it's also an opportunity just for maybe some staff members to get out and be seen on campus. Right. Visibility is important sometimes. People in the business office just, are in the business office, they may not have the opportunity, but going out to get the mail is a great time to interact.
I love those little stories. I love those little adjustments. That's when we're doing things right. When we're saying, well, what do you think about doing it this way? You were the one who said that. Why don't you just have them come and pick it up? And I was like, so we did, and I think those things work. It'll be interesting to see what this university is like in a year. When we are forced to make those adjustments and we're doing those things, and I think it makes us closer. As you said, people are out and about visiting, which this particular building is almost separate from, this is the CET building that seems to be separate from campus. And so I think it's when those departments are headed over there, not just to eat lunch but to be over there and interacting, I think it helps.
Yeah, and they can stop over at the coffee shop at Starbucks, get themselves,
which I heard is doing record-breaking business, by the way. And I have to tell you, when we talked about this at President's Cabinet the other day, I become very focused. I'm very hyper-focused on getting things done and making sure I'm getting things accomplished and, hard on myself about what I didn't get done. And I'm guilty of sometimes not stopping to smell the roses. And last week, my husband and I have dinner here every single night on campus. I love being here. I love, the kids. But I wanted to show him the new umbrellas for they were old that have been repurposed and painted black down on Donahue, and the umbrellas came, and I wanted to show it to him. And we were walking down the walkway, and students were up on the Benedum deck, and we walked a little further, and laughter was up there. We walked a little further, and Starbucks was bright and lit up, and it was packed, but socially distanced packed, because we did remove some of the tables because we got a photograph of too many people in the area. So again, that app works. But as we were headed down, those tables were packed, and I said, oh my goodness gracious, a year ago, none of this was here. The deck was closed, had been closed for 10 years. Starbucks wasn't there. Starbucks was, what was it, Steel Coffee? What was that yellow label coffee?
Something not Starbucks.
Something not Starbucks.
It's important
That's right.
to know.
I love Starbucks. I don't know about all of you, but they had taken away the rat, and I say they because it was a different organization, and so we made all those adjustments, and you were all of a sudden, I was just in that moment where I'm like, wow, look at this place, and I think that's wonderful, and it takes all of us to get that done, and it takes the students, communicating, what they're happy about and what they're not happy about.
Yeah, and I think that it was through student conversations that the location of where the coffee shop was moved wasn't ideal. And so, it was decided that it should go, kind of like went back and forth. We wanted to provide a nice location. You want to go to a coffee shop, it's bright. and there's, tables and study areas and things like that. So, putting it back where it currently is, in the lower Swint area, there's a lot. And again, there's huge windows there.
So I was in last night. As I said, I was restocking the shirts and the sweatshirts because they're going very quickly. But again, the staff at Starbucks said the students want shorts. Could you get some shorts? And oh, by the way, they'd also like to have lanyards. And I was like, okay, we can do that. So we've got shorts and sweats for boys and girls, men's and women's. Excuse me, I'm still a mom. I can't help myself. And lanyards that are coming. And I love that. I love that the students tell the staff and the staff tell us, and we're just taking care of things. We're small enough that's the beauty of it. So,
Yeah, and I think it's good that we are. I mean, if it wasn't for our students, we wouldn't be sitting here. They are our top priority. They are the reason that we continue to come here. The reason that we just kind of do everything, for them.
It's our customer.
They're our customers.
Client.
They're our client, and we want to make sure that we're, helping them out.
So the rat, I don't remember whether or not we talked about this last week, but we went ahead and opened it. It's not completely done because the students were asking for a place to be, and not everybody has a TV in their room. So we went and opened it, and I think you saw, the walls are being covered. With different photos of our students, a period of now, and I love that. And it's certainly not done, but the TVs are on. But we're working towards something that I'm very excited about. So again, as a parent, I understand that once you have a degree, then you have to go out and get a job, and it's that translation because there are a lot of people who are also applying for that job. I was amazed when my daughter was applying for medical school. She was among a very small number that were, seniors in college that were applying and interviewing for medical school because she was competing with adults who had gone back to medical school or had gotten their masters, or, and she was competing against those. So the real world is you're competing, and so I want the ability for our students to have some real world experience, in the environment with their faculty. So something we've been working on since last year, and Dr. Yonkins reminded me of it last night. And he's everyone's favorite. He's been here, as he said, since 1977. He did his undergrad here, and he's never left. It's 1977, I think it is, Kelly? Earlier than that. But he and Dr. Pauls and I are working on an internship opportunity for business students to run the RAT as a business. And so they will have an opportunity to have an internship. That'll be on their resume. Get real world business experience, inventory, sales, those types of things under the umbrella of the business department, Dr. Pauls, Dr. Yonkins, in a protected environment that still will count for something, and they get to participate in something that the students love, which is the Raskeller. I was slightly amazed and a little taken back that at a alumni event in Cleveland last fall, that our executive producer excitedly shared the news that when she was here, the paperwork allowed you to have a keg party a week, was it? One a week in your dorm? And I was, my head almost spun off my body. Two. So you're not allowed to do that anymore. Just making sure you all know that. But
No.
we have our own campus pub, and we have for a very long period of time. And I love that theory. I talk about the fact that personally, I'm the youngest of 10, and I was raised on a farm. And my mom always believed that, kids are going to be kids. And the idea to keep, in a protected environment works. And so I think that's always been the benefit of Wheeling University or Wheeling Jesuit University or Wheeling Jesuit College is the fact that we had the RAT. And kids didn't leave, didn't go out to the bars or go to other bars or, weren't out and then drinking and driving back. So I'm excited to go back to something that was actually done that way once upon a time. The students actually ran the RAT many, many, many years ago. So hopefully in, the upcoming weeks, we'll be able to get that back on track and allow some of our business students to have an opportunity to do that. So
Yeah.
she's giving me the 5-minute mark over there. So.
Oh. Better pay attention. I'm not texting, obviously, or checking Facebook, but So how will it be handled if a student goes home? Will they be required to quarantine when they return? And will their location be a determining factor?
I believe it will be a factor. I think
Yes.
that's one of the things, again, let's go back to, we're small enough that we should be able to communicate. And if you're going somewhere, then your RA or residence life or even Andrew, Vice, President of Student Services, needs to be told. And then we can determine it from there, because I don't think that any of our students want to go home to their family and potentially take something home or go home and then bring something back. When we met the week before, our students came back and our one of the RAs asked that question, which I thought was poignant. If we get sick, do we have to go home? Because we don't want to take it home to our families. And we talked about, the quarantining and where they would be. But I thought that was, again, indicative of the quality of the students that we have here, that they were worried about, hurting their brothers and their sisters or their dads. And, we're more than prepared to take care of them. We had some kids in self-quarantine this weekend, and we took care of them, took the food delivered,
Correct,
everything.
food's delivered, all that kind of stuff. But, if a student goes a certain distance from campus or a designated hotspot, we would work with them on coming back to campus. Everyone was required, and they should have, signed a social contract on your Blackboard account. Numerous emails were sent about it from me, so you're welcome. So make sure that you guys look at that. We put in there that be mindful of your travel. Still follow masks, social distancing, where you're going, who you're around. And we've talked about, we always go home and come back and things like that. But, we have locations here on campus to where we can quarantine, self-isolate individuals. There are some residence halls here on campus that don't have individual bathrooms. So in those areas, we would move them to various locations on campus. And again, through Student Services, Residence Life, and Aladdin, our food provider, we box up meals and take them to those students as need. And again, our academic affairs, Dr. Jackie McGlade, works with faculty members to make sure they're aware of the need so that they can kind of work online as need be.
One last thing I want to mention and talk about, because we are in week 3, so I think we are all starting to settle in, is Mass in the chapel, and the chapel being open. We have 2 Masses on Sunday, 11 and 8 p.m., and then a weekday at 12:10, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and 9:15 on Wednesdays, correct, Father? And all are welcome. I think it's, obviously, one of the things I'm most proud of is the fact that, this year, in the midst of everything that we did, we were able to return theology as a major. And that's very important. But secondly, one of the most important things that we did was an adjustment to, over the years, we'd kind of gotten away from, our core purpose, our mission. You hear me say this all the time, mission isn't something that's written down. Mission is a way of life. And we started to schedule classes at noon. And it kept the kids away from, the church at noon. And so this year there are no classes at noon. And so that, it allows them to avail themselves to attending Mass should they choose. I'm available at 8 o'clock on Sundays if any of you want to go to Mass. Father Hottie, Bob Traeger referred to as Dr. McGlade, my husband and I, as the faithful 3. There's 3 of us to go to Mass on Sunday evening, but I want to make sure that we're settling back in and the students know that that's there and it's available. It's socially distanced there. You have to sign in when you come in. There are X's, crosses, if you will, on the chairs, and so that, everything within the chapel is set up to be socially distanced. That was approved, submitted by Father Hottie to the diocese, and it was approved in the way that we're handling it. But it's important. It's important that we get back to that as a way of life, except on Wednesday, which we have first-year seminar during Wednesdays at noon, which is why we have the 9 o'clock Mass. So, Father, did I miss anything on that?
No.
Okay.
And I think at this time, we kind of are asking non-campus communities to attend at this time, so that way we can kind of, again, control what we do and don't know. But
and we've sent that out to the public to make sure that the community understands that we're not trying to push them away. We're just trying to embrace, our primary purpose, which is taking care of our students and our staff and employees that are here. So,
well, that's another week done. So thank you for attending, those that virtually and those that are here. And we appreciate the questions. And again, we hopefully will be back next week and same time and same place.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Constant and continuous open dialogue. And I think that's what's going to get us through it. It's what got us to this point, and I think it's what's going to keep us through it and see us
Yep.
safe.
Perfect.
So thank you.
Thank
you
you.
all for being here.